This series is all about learning to turn down the external voices, the internal voice, and turning up the eternal voice. If God is doing a new thing and you're still living in the last thing, then you're no longer living in what God has for you. You're living in what you want. Listen, no matter how great things have been in your past, God has something far greater. The sound of supply. Do any of you even remember? I know at the early gathering, everyone remembered these, but do you recognize these? I had a few of our kids were in our gathering last one, and like my kids are like, "What is that? I do not know what that strange-looking thing." This is an audio cassette tape. And I remember putting together mixtapes because I could choose the songs I wanted to listen to. You see, I would get a blank tape, or sometimes it wasn't blank. I would be recording over something, and then you had to think, how many times have I recorded over this? Because if you record over it too many times, the quality is not very good. Anyone know what I'm talking about? And you're recording, you're like, okay, how many times it can be good? And you put together the songs you want to hear. But this series is not about the songs you want to hear. I won't be singing. Sorry to disappoint you. But it's about the sounds you need to hear. We live in a loud world. There's noise all around us. There's voices all around us. You see, everyone has an opinion. Even if you don't want their opinion, people are giving you their opinion. There's the external voices, the people around us, our family and their family and friends. Our co-workers. People we wish weren't in our lives are speaking into us. Then you have the internal voice, what we say to ourselves. You know, sometimes we can be our own worst enemy. Sometimes as ruthless as other people are to us, we are more ruthless to ourselves. We can be brutal to ourselves. And sometimes the external voices are so loud and the internal voice is so loud that we miss the eternal voice. You see, this series is all about learning to turn down the external voices, the internal voice, and turning up the eternal voice. Now, please understand, you don't make the voice of God louder, you just make it louder in your own life. Sometimes we have a hard time hearing God because everyone else is so loud, because the voice on the inside of us is loud, and sometimes we just need to turn all that down. So look at the person next to you and say, I'm turning you down. I'm turning you down. There's a wife who got aggressive with her husband. I'm turning you down, baby. Look at the person on the other side of you and say, turn down for what? Get the little John anointing. Oh, you see, we need to make sure that the eternal voice is louder than the internal voice and the external voices in our life. And today, on week 1 of Mixtape, we're going to discover the sound of supply. Supply has a sound. Supply has a sound. If you have your Bibles, let's go to 1 Kings chapter 17, beginning in verse 7. Sometime later, the brook dried up because there had been no rain in the land. Then the word of the Lord came to him. Speaking of Elijah, go at once to Zarephath in the region of Sidon and stay there. I have directed a widow there to supply you with food. So he went to Zarephath. When he came to the town gate, a widow was there gathering sticks. He called to her and asked, would you bring me a little water in a jar so I may have a drink? As she was going to get it, he called, and bring me, please, a piece of bread. As surely as the Lord your God lives, she replied, I don't have any bread, only a handful of flour in a jar and a little olive oil in a jug. I am gathering a few sticks to take home and make a meal for myself and my son, that we may eat it and die. Elijah said to her, don't be afraid. That's for someone this afternoon. Don't be afraid. Go home. Not right now, but after we're done. Go home and do as you have said, but first make a small loaf of bread for me from what you have and bring it to me, and then make something for yourself and your son. For this is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says, the jar of flour will not be used up, and the jug of oil will not run dry until the day the Lord sends rain on the land. She went away and did as Elijah had told her. So there was food every day for Elijah and for the woman and her family. For the jar of flour was not used up, and the jug of oil did not run dry, in keeping with the word of the Lord spoken by Elijah. I hope you remember that if God spoke it, you're going to see it. If God said it, you will see it in your life. We find this passage at a time in Israel's history where Israel is now divided. At one point, it was a united nation, and now it's divided between the northern kingdom of Israel and the southern kingdom of Judah. Now you have one of Israel's kings, the northern kingdom's kings, and his name is Omri, and he was a wicked man. He did evil in the sight of the Lord, and he had a son, and his son's name was Ahab, and he arranged a marriage for his son. Any parents out there think that we should still have arranged marriages? My kids, you're not deciding who you're going to marry. I'm going to decide, right? It's not you. And he picked a woman. It was kind of like a political move because she was the daughter of another king, and you may have heard of her. Her name's Jezebel. Jezebel. She was a wicked woman. She was a priestess of Baal. And so Ahab becomes king in his father's place, and he follows in his father's footsteps. You know, in life that you tend to repeat where your family comes from without realizing it or not. We take from our family not just the good, but sometimes the bad and the ugly, whether we want to or not. If you come from a family that has struggled with addiction, you got to be aware of that so you don't tap into that life and begin living that life of addiction. If you come from abuse, you got to be careful. You may be promised yourself, I'm never going to be an abuser. I'm never going to be an abuser. And yet you have tracked that on and you have kept living that. You see, someone needs to break a cycle. You need to break a cycle of your family. You need to break a cycle of abuse. You need to break a cycle of addiction. You need to break a cycle of poverty. Be the one who says, this may be where I come from, but it's not where I'm going. God is giving me new life, and new life can be found in Christ. And so Ahab, he marries Jezebel. And you got to realize that Jezebel brings with her prophets of Baal and Ashtoreth. You know that when you get married, people bring things into that marriage? Yet they don't tell you ahead of time. Some of you right now are like, you're newly married and you're like, what happened to the guy I was dating? This isn't him. They're like, yeah, you weren't dating him. You were dating his representative. His representative opened doors for you, sent you flowers, bought you a gift. This is the real. It's like we bring stuff in. That's why if you are single, it's not about finding Mr. or Mrs. Right. It is about becoming healthy, because a healthy marriage is the marriage between two healthy individuals. When Lindsay and I were dating, I don't think she thought we were dating. I think she thought she was being interrogated. I wanted to hook her up to a lie detector test. I did not even give her a hug for 2 months. I mean, for 2 months, it was like, we'd be done with dinner, I'd give her a fist bump, I don't know, she could be crazy. I thought she's the nicest person I ever met. I was on the phone with her pastor. I was on the phone with her family, with her friends, finding out, is she really is this her representative, or is this who she really is? And she really is as loving. She really is as kind. She really is. She is amazing. And so you have Ahab that marries this crazy woman who brings with her all kinds of priests of Baal. And it's with that background that the great prophet to the northern kingdom, Elijah, shows up. And he shows up, and we don't have much background on him. He just shows up. Elijah shows up. Now, Elijah's name means, my God is Yahweh. I don't know what your name means, but that would be like, Elijah, my God is Yahweh. My name is Daniel, and it means God is my judge. That's awesome, and it's also alarming. God, you know my actions. God knows my thoughts and my heart. And yet Elijah, my God is Yahweh, and he shows up and he makes an announcement to King Ahab. He says, it's not going to rain. It's not going to rain. We're going into a drought. And you will not see rain or you will not see dew until I speak it. Until God tells me there is going to be a drought here. My God is Yahweh, and you're going to see this. Now you need to understand that King Ahab built a temple for Baal. He married a priestess of Baal who brought with her priests of Baal. Now maybe you don't know, but Baal was the Canaanite god of rain. Was the Canaanite god of thunder, of lightning, was basically their rain god. Yet you need to know where things come from. Like Elijah's saying, like, you think Baal sends the rain? Baal doesn't send the rain. My God is Yahweh. It rains when my God says it's going to rain. It doesn't rain when my God says it's not. Listen, it's not your boss who's going to help you be financially stable and prosperous. It's not your paycheck. It is God. You got to know where your supply, the sound of supply is not a sound out here. It's not even a sound in here. You're like, I take care of myself. No, it is God. And like Elijah's showing up and saying, you think it's Baal? Really, you think it's Baal that sends the rain? Let me tell you, my God is Yahweh. And someone, you need to know your supply does not come from where you think it comes from. That's Milli Vanilli. That's Baal. That's just, it comes from. Comes from Yahweh. It comes from God. He says that there's going to be a drought. Now, please understand that we get in our context today how dangerous and how destructive fire can be. As it's torn apart our state and people have lost their lives and lost their homes. And we've seen because of the destruction of fire that now when it rains, how destructive rain can be when you get mudslides and you get people losing their lives and losing their homes. But I don't think we really get how destructive at that point in history a drought could be. I mean, today when we're done here, you're going to leave here, you're going to be like, cool, it's day 21 of our fast, and you're going to go to In-N-Out and be like, give me a double-double. Sure, half chocolate, half vanilla shake, throw in the fries. Like, we just don't get a drought. Maybe you want to eat healthier, so you'll go to the store and you'll get like a protein bar and bottled water. Like people, we pay money for water in a bottle. Like a couple decades ago, people would have never believed that. Like, hold on, you're going to put water in a bottle, charge a couple dollars for it, and people are going to pay. Like, it's like we don't have a context for a drought. He says there's going to be a drought. And then God tells Elijah, he says, okay, now I want you to head out of here. It's time to run. Head east. For all of you directionally challenged people, east is that way. When you're on the 10 freeway, if you're heading away from LA, you are heading east. Head east. You're going to go to this place. There's going to be this stream. It's a brook. And I'm going to send you there, and there's going to be birds that bring you food. Like, you need to go there. So Elijah is picking a fight, and then he's running. You know those kind of people? I remember in elementary school, I went to Barranca. It was the 4th or 5th grade that there was the fastest guy in the school, little guy. And he would go pick fights with everyone, and then he would take off running because no one could catch him. He would find the biggest guys and start talking about their mom and run and hide. Eventually that catches up with you. About a week ago, Lindsay and I we were at LA Fitness. We were at the gym. And you need to understand, like Lindsay is the greatest wife ever. She's amazing. Not only is she kind and caring, but she loves football. Like what do you want to do on a date? She's like, let's go watch football. And then it's like, or let's watch UFC. She loves UFC. This is this is unbelievable. This is awesome. And yes, that's true. Sitting there on the front row rocking your Air Force Ones. You want to make me, I want to bust into a Nelly song, but I'll contain myself. And we were at LA Fitness, and her favorite UFC fighter is a guy named George St. Pierre. Anyone remember George St. Pierre from back, GSP from back in the day? And he made a comeback this last year after being off for years, and he fought a guy named Michael Bisping. Now, he's a fighter from England. Okay, I think he's had his retina detached and just like the UFC, And so we're there at LA Fitness about a week ago, and she's like tapping me. She's like, that's Michael Bisping. He lives here in Southern California. Apparently, he was kicked out of 24-hour fitness for choking a guy. Someone walked up, didn't know it was his weight, started using his weights, and he starts choking him. So LA Fitness says, come to our gym. Like, this is all true. Like, look it up, people. This is online. It's true. You can find it. It's clearly everything you Google is correct. And Lindsay starts like, hey, look, it's Michael Bisping. You know, like it's and you gotta realize when I'm working out, I have fight music going through my ears. You know, it's like if you see me at LA Fitness and I look crazy, it's the music in my ears. Okay, like I'm just like intense. I got fight music going on in my ears. And so I text my oldest, Ian. I'm like, hey, it's Michael Bisping. And Ian's like, go take a picture with him. I'm like, he choked the guy for using his weights. And then Lindsay leans over and she says, he doesn't even look that big, does he? So you know, in that one moment for that split second, like, I could take him. Like cauliflower ears and all. And then, so I got fight music running through my ears, and I got run music playing in my brain. What do? I take off running. I'm like hiding. Lindsay's like, where did you go? It's like, I'm hiding. I'm doing aerobics with all the old people in the room. Like, you see, there is a time to fight, and there is a time to flee. Maybe you're thinking, wait, hold on. I thought we're supposed to be like David and we're supposed to fight Goliath. If that's what God wants, but if God wants you to run, then you need to take off running. Don't fight when you're not supposed to fight. If you're supposed to flee, go ahead and flee. Your time for fighting will come, but it's not right now. And so God tells Elijah, you're going to go to this brook, and there's going to be this water. You're just going to drink from the water. Birds are going to bring you your food. Doesn't this just sound like amazing? You're just laying there and sipping water from a brook. And birds are bringing you food twice a day. They bring him bread and they bring him meat. And doesn't even have to go anywhere. He obeys and then he goes there. Notice that Jonah ran from God's direction and he found himself in a storm. Yet Elijah follows God's direction and he finds himself in the middle of supply. He doesn't even have to work for his food, just laying there sipping on water, eating. He's there and it's all being taken care of. And it's like some of us, we think like, this is awesome. You need to know that God is your supply. God is your supply. We read in Psalms, where does my help come from? I look to the mountains. My help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. That's where my help comes from. And you're there, and you're like, this is awesome, and then the brook dries up. There's no rain, and the brook dried up. Birds, where are you at? God, where are the miracles that you were doing? And so when the brook dries up, we can start blaming the devil. Like as Christians, we love to blame everything on the devil. Everything's the devil. It's the devil. Maybe it's not the devil. Maybe it's just people are crazy. Maybe what you're going through right now, it's not because it's the devil. It's not because people are crazy. Maybe it's a bad decision you made. Maybe you married someone who was crazy. I don't know. Like we face things for different reasons, but maybe it's not the devil. Maybe it's not that people are crazy. Maybe it's not a bad decision we made. Maybe it's God taking away his provision. Why would he do that? Like, why would he do that? Well, he tells Elijah, I want you to go. You're going to go, and there's a widow who's going to take care of you. I want you to head here, and I have a widow who's going to take care. Like, wait, hold on, God. Bring back the brook. Bring back the food when I just had to lay there. Like the Israelites going through the wilderness when they were just there. Manna, what's this food? It just showed up. It just showed up, and then the manna disappeared. Why? Because God wanted to take them into the promised land. If you read Isaiah 43, we read that God says, see, I am doing a new thing. Do you not perceive it? Tells us to forget about the past, not the negative things from the past. God says, remember how I brought you out of captivity. Remember how I took you through the Red Sea. Remember all the amazing things and all the miracles I've done in your life. Yet forget about all of that because I have something far greater. Listen, no matter how great things have been in your past, God has something far greater. The sound of supply. It's a sound of a new season. But you cannot step into the new season if you're continually living in the past. Wanting things to go back to the way it was. Listen, if God is doing a new thing and you're still living in the last thing, then you're no longer living in what God has for you. You're living in what you want. Sometimes we think, oh, I'm just still living in what God has. No, you're not. God left that a long time ago. That brook is dried up. I wanted to go back to the good old days. God doesn't want to take you back to the good old days. He wants to take you ahead to the best of days. What is ahead of you is far greater than what's behind you. So Elijah, he goes and he shows up and he sees this widow. And he says, excuse me, can I have some water? Can I have a little jar of water? And so she goes to get him some water. And then on the way to get him water, he says, and can I have some bread? Can you bring me some bread? And she's like, are you serious? Like, really? Really, Elijah, man of God, are you serious? You're asking me for bread. I don't have bread. All I got is a little bit of flour in a jar and a little bit of oil in a jug. And you see me? You see what I'm doing right now? I'm collecting some branches. I'm collecting some wood because I'm going to go start a fire. I'm going to make a meal. It is the last meal my kid and I are going to have. We are going to eat it and we're going to die. Now, you might be thinking, oh, yeah, that's just her being dramatic. No, it's not. And by the way, can I just clear it up, by the way? Some of the most dramatic people on the earth are not women, they're men. I'll start a march on that. Like, I'm way more dramatic than Lindsay is. She's not just, you believe that? She's not just being dramatic. She's telling him, this is, like, really? I don't got what you're asking for. And usually we identify with the widow. Because we say, things are being asked of me that I can't give. Really, man of God, you're asking me for this? I don't even got that. Even if I wanted to give that to you, I do not have that to give. Like, really, like why don't you go to someone wealthy? I'm a widow. Why don't you go to Olive Garden? They have all-you-can-eat breadsticks. I don't have any bread for you. Go to get some cheesy bread at Red Lobster. Like I don't have what's being... You see, Jesus has not shown up on the scene. It's not like she knows that Jesus can take 5 loaves and 2 fish and feed thousands. She does not know that. And what about Elijah? You ever put yourself in his shoes? He's there. He's sent to a widow, not to someone wealthy, to ask for basically all she has. That'd be hard. God's been speaking some things into my spirit to ask of this church. I'm like, wait, God, really? God, no. Like, everyone was so generous during Above and Beyond, and in December, like, you want to do this now? Like, hold on, God, can't we wait until this upcoming December? God, and God's like, no, I need you to understand that if you do not ask and they do not have the opportunity to give, they will not have the opportunity to receive. You see, what we're seeing here is this was not the widow's last. If she gave it, it became lasting. Elijah tells her, don't be afraid. And that's a word for someone, don't be afraid. Has fear locked you up? Fear will lock you up. You may not be in a physical prison, but you might be in a prison on the inside. And it's so loud. All the external voices are so loud saying you're never going to make it. The situation is going to kill you. No one's ever going to love you. You're never going to make it out of this. You're always going to live as your parents have. You're always going to live in a lack. And yet that internal voice is even worse than all this. See, I knew I shouldn't even have tried. I don't even need to put an effort in there. No one recognizes my talent. No one loves me. No one accepts me for who I am. We need to turn down those voices, and we need to turn up that eternal voice that says, I am Jehovah Jireh. I am your provider. Knowing that greater is he that is in me than he that is in the world. Don't let fear lock you up. Don't let fear determine your future. Punch fear in the face. God has not given you a spirit of fear, but of power and love and a sound mind. And Elijah tells this woman, he says, go do what you're going to do, but first make me some bread. Like, that's serious. Like, doesn't that sound mean? Like, wouldn't it be nicer if he said, oh, I get it. I understand. I'm so sorry. Why don't you and your son eat, and then if there's any leftovers, bring them to me? I think we're great at bringing God leftovers. But first, we need to bring God our first fruits. You see, the key to abundance is obedience. This woman is going to show us that God blesses obedience. Elijah tells her, he says, do that. Go home. Make that food. Bring it to me. And here's what's going to happen is that the flour in your jar is not going to run out. And the oil in your jug is not going to run out. And guess what? It didn't. It didn't. Someone, you're here and you need to get that the sound of supply may be different than you think. You see, sometimes God doesn't give you more of, sometimes God gives you more from. We keep praying for more. God, give me more jars. Give me more jugs. God, I need more jars of flour. I need more jugs of oil. God, I need a better job. Maybe God says, no, I'm going to promote you at your current job. Hey, God, I need more friends. God says, no, I'm going to help you to become really close to those few friends you have. He's like, God, I need a new husband. He's like, I'm going to give you a new husband, but it's going to be the same husband as you have right now. He's just going to be new. God, I need a new house. And God says, no, I'm going to help you fix up that house. You're going to pay it off. Then you're going to sell it. You're going to, you see, it doesn't always happen how we think it's going to happen. We want more of when God says, I'm going to give you more from. It's not going to run out. It's not your last. It's going to be lasting. But we've got to turn down those external voices that says you don't have what it takes. Launch a business? Who do you think you are? You don't have that kind of expertise. Your family doesn't do those kind of things. You got to turn that down. You got to turn down that internal voice. I said, this is never going to amount to anything. Why even try? I'm just going to try to survive. You got to turn that down. And you got to turn up the eternal voice. It says you are fearfully and wonderfully made. You are a child of the Most High. You are loved. You are accepted. You are redeemed. This series is all about learning to turn down the external voices, the internal voice, and turning up the eternal voice. If God is doing a new thing, and you're still living in the last thing, then you're no longer living in what God has for you. You're living in what you want.